Live from the Matt Morris Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show. We're up to episode 96 on this March 5th. We're in March now with the sports director of KSEE24 and CBS47, Scott Bemis. I'm Dean Schiro. Scotty, March is underway. Our new contest is underway. I've got a small lead on you. Nothing to be too excited about, but we got some plays today we're going to talk about and quite a few topics. Opening thoughts.
Are you in the green with regards to?
I am not in the green, but I'm less in the red than you are.
We both started out very conservatively that first show of the new month, right?
Yes.
And a few more plays today from me. I don't know what you got on the table.
About 6, and you got, I think, 3.
Although I usually know what to expect with you. It's a full page.
But again, Scotty, what day is it? It's Big West Thursday.
West Thursday night, baby.
Big West Thursday night. We got a big slate of games in the Big West tonight. A lot to talk about up and down the state and on the island. So with that being said, let's come in hot as soon as I can find it. Go. All right, Scott, we're going to start with your topic today since we're kind of talking basketball, and then we'll go with mine. Mine's a football topic. But, Scotty, this is a serious topic here, and I know one that you've brought up already. Tanking in the NBA. Tanking. Losing games profusely. Our own Sacramento Kings just up the road had a 17-game losing streak before finally ending that last week at my expense, by the way. But otherwise, I'm not holding any grudges. But
sure, no, never.
Never. So, Scotty, tanking in the NBA, what are we doing? What's going on?
Well, let me just throw this stat out for you. The bottom 10 teams are currently on a combined 44-game losing streak in the NBA. Dean, we got an issue here. Here, and it needs to be addressed now. Right?
On this show.
There's been a bunch of ideas that have been thrown at the wall.
Right.
To me, just come up with something. Let's put something in place here, and and even if you want to make it so that it's retroactive to this season, I'm okay with it because it's getting ridiculous, right? The NBA product, I think, is suffering because of this, and still at the top, obviously. Like once we get to the playoff time and everything else, the NBA is still a really good product, but you can't have teams combined losing 44 in a row because they're all trying to get in better draft position. Guys, team sitting players sometimes from a gambling perspective,
it's really difficult, Scott.
But you can also take advantage of this if you are following the NBA really closely and knowing that certain teams kind of don't really want to win, and it's not necessarily that the players on the floor aren't trying to win. It's how they're structuring their lineups and who they're keeping out, in crucial times and this and that. And guys are sitting, out with injuries that maybe they could play if they absolutely needed this game, things like that. So guys are still trying in the NBA. It's just the way it's being managed is to tank and to get a better draft pick. And I understand why. That's the thing. I understand why that's the case. So in my opinion, you have to find a way to motivate these teams to want to win. So what do you do? In my
Commissioner
opinion,
Bemis, what are we doing?
Well, here's what I would do. I would find a system where in the last, say, second half of the season or last 30 games, whatever cutoff point you want to kind of start it at, for every win that you get in that time, you earn, say, another ping pong ball, if you're still going with the ping pong ball in the lottery type of stuff. Okay. They're throwing out a lot of things like getting rid of the lottery altogether, stuff like that, and everybody maybe have an equal chance because it would then, in their opinion, demotivate the teams to lose. To me, as opposed to kind of trying to demotivate them to lose, motivate them to win by giving them something if they win.
Okay.
And so that would be my idea is somehow incentivize them with wins at the end of the regular season. That increases their chances possibly of getting a top pick. Or maybe there's one wild card team or 2 wild card teams, somehow that over the last 30 games, if you have the best record or something like that maybe you earn a spot in the play-in tournament or something like that.
Well, they did add the play-in tournament to try to get seeds 9 and 10 in.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't get everybody in, or else you're going to have the Women's Olympic hockey tournament, which you didn't like,
Well, I wouldn't mind if more teams got in the playoffs, as long as it was like a step ladder type thing. I always talk about the step ladder, whereas, not everybody's playing in the first round. If they're eliminating teams, kind of like 20 plays 19, and then 19 plays 18, then 18 plays 7. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Kind of thing. On down,
Right.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay, all right.
But I don't think most people want that. I don't think they want more NBA playoff teams. So my thing is just incentivize them to win somehow.
Okay.
If you win a game in the final 30, you get an extra ping pong ball. And so if you win 15, you got an extra 15 ping pong balls, something like that.
All right. Okay, that's good. I like that. What else? Is there anything else that can be done on a tanking standpoint in terms of financial or to the organizations or anything like that? I mean, Scotty, you're talking about betting though, but the problem is these spreads get so outrageous. I mean, they're up to 21, 22 points when you know that a guy like Steph Curry's not playing, or you know that LeBron's not playing, or Luka's not playing, right? It just kind of gets crazy. It becomes very hard to handicap these games in the NBA when the spreads get that high. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, there are two issues, huge issues that the NBA, I think, is dealing with.
Okay. One
is the tanking, right? And the other one is the load management. And I think they're kind of separate. Sometimes they cross over a little bit because, teams that are not going to make the playoffs might sit their stars with minor injuries where they possibly could play, and under the kind of the pretense of load management.
Sure.
But load management is another issue that the NBA is dealing with, you know, and I don't really know what the answer to that is.
Okay.
I only know that the problem is real and that you've talked about it before. Say you're in Fresno, Dean Schiro, and you're going to go to 2 NBA games a year, and you're going to go to Sacramento to watch the Lakers play because you want your son to see LeBron James while he's still playing in the NBA.
Right.
And you go to that game and LeBron's sitting or Luka's sitting.
Exactly. We use Coop as the example with Steph Curry, right? We use that for Chase Center. We used that for the example about 2 months ago. So really, it sucks. It does.
Really, the only way that the fans could really make their voices heard is by not going to these games, right? In a way. And I don't know if we're at that point, honestly, but these tickets are super expensive.
They are. They're not cheap at all. And then the other thing I was just going to bring up on the NBA really quick, is it just me, or does it seem like there's more back-to-backs that teams have more than ever? With an 82 game schedule and how they have it spread out from October till May, why do we have so many back-to-backs in the NBA when you only have to play 82 games? I don't understand it.
Well, there's a simple solution to this.
Okay.
And we've talked about it, ad nauseum.
Right.
Shorten the regular season.
Okay.
Shorten the regular season.
Okay.
I mean, make it a 60-game regular season. Find a way to make your playoffs so much more valuable that you can make up that financial loss of not having the home games.
Okay.
And to me, that's possible. I bet there's a way if you shorten the regular season and create more urgency in the regular season where maybe your regular season becomes a more valuable product.
Sure.
That it's a win-win for everybody. Maybe at that point you're bringing in the same amount of money, but your guys are only playing 60 games.
Okay.
Your stars aren't getting hurt. We talked about it last offseason, right?
Right.
Sometimes these NBA playoffs, we get it. I mean, hey, I get it from a load management point of view. I understand the health concerns because we see it in the playoffs when these guys are going hard for 2 straight months. A lot of them are going down with injuries. Basketball is a tough game, and you're jumping. These are 7-footers, big, huge, tall guys leaping through the air, landing on feet, all that stuff.
Sure.
It can be a dangerous game, but yeah, I mean, in a simple terms, you shorten the regular season.
All right. Okay, fair enough. All right, I'll get to mine. I mean, mine's more of an excitement thing today, obviously. So I'm a huge Rams fan. I was so excited the other day to see us pick up former University of Washington star and Kansas City Chiefs All-Pro Trent McDuffie in our secondary. There are rumors out there right now. Don't know if they're true or not. I've heard from several people that possibly Max Crosby might be joining the LA Rams here in the near future.
Dean's sources are telling him. I like that.
I'm just throwing it out there. So it's not official, but there are rumors out there, so we'll see. But we have a number 1 draft pick still. We have 1 left. I'm just fired up right now to see what the Rams are doing. Les Snead obviously has made it very public in the past about draft picks are great, but they're not everything. And sometimes if you have to make a big move to try to win a Super Bowl, which he did in 2021 season, he's going to go for it. So what are your thoughts on McDuffie going to the Rams and possibly some more moves?
Well, my first thought when I saw this was, the Rams have a draft pick left?
They had 2 in the first round,
I was surprised because I felt like they've kind of shipped away every draft pick they have over the last 3 or 4 years.
Right.
But I can get on board with this. You never know what your draft pick's going to turn out to be. So if you're trading a first-round pick. Now, there were some other picks that they also threw in there later
They did.
picks.
There was like a 7, a 3, and 27, stuff like that. There were a couple more. Yeah,
but if you're a team like the Rams, who is in a kind of a win now, that window with Matthew Stafford's kind of closing there.
Very small.
Go for it. And I think the fan base, you being one of them, can get behind it. I can get behind it. I mean, why not get the established guy, Trent McDuffie, right? As opposed to kind of taking a swing in the draft and hoping that that guy turns out to be, a Trent McDuffie type.
Right,
So,
a guy who just maybe performed well at the combine or maybe had great numbers or was an All-American in college. You got a guy that's a 2-time All-Pro already ready to go in your secondary who's healthy and wants to, and then he also is going to sign a long-term deal. It's like, win-win. Yeah, they had 2 picks, by the way, Scotty. They had the Falcons pick, I think it's 13, and then they had their own pick, I think it was 29.
Okay.
So they gave up 29 to get McDuffie. So I'm just fired up about that. I didn't really have a lot on coming in hot, but I mean, as a Rams fan, we had major issues in the secondary and at special teams. Obviously, that's the only thing that really held us back last year and kind of propelled Seattle past us. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. It was pretty cool. So interesting story that you had this week. We actually had the sound last night on KSEE24 and CBS47 Sports. Is Fresno State coach Vance Wahlberg pretty much coming out, and just he came out guns blazing a little bit and was completely transparent and honest that and we've talked about this on the show, there's a possibility he might lose 12 of his guys this offseason.
That's what he said. That was the number.
That was a direct quote.
Yeah. Like he said 12 of his guys. And it just shows how difficult it is right now in college basketball from year to year. And so hard to project forward. And I think that's what makes it incredibly difficult, right? Is that in the old days, when you and I were growing up, you go out, you get a coach, and it was like, you make a coaching change, and you give that new coach 3 to 5 years, right, to kind of build the program, to see what he could do, because that would allow like a full recruiting class to come through and several recruiting classes to come through. It's a whole different world now, and so it makes it, the idea that maybe coaches will get 3 to 5 years, I could see that maybe changing here soon, even though I think that's unfair to them to not give them enough time to at least show what they can do, because the entire roster is changing from year to year. And I've talked about it before, like the Bulldogs have an exciting true freshman in Deshaun Gorey. They've got a big man who, is developing into a nice player, a 7-footer, Wilson Jack. But I hope that Deshaun Gorey sticks around. I mean, because he could turn into like an all-conference type player here with the Bulldogs. But I don't think I would bet against it, because,
I agree.
Because there's going to be, and Coach Wahlberg says it's just everybody's out there,
looking for the best.
Looking for the next guy. Those Power 5 programs, Power 4 programs are out there looking, saying, oh, look at this. We've got this stud, at Fresno State.
Right.
And everybody knows everybody in those worlds, right? Of college basketball. And, and so it's just hard. It's just like almost like discouraging, because there are little signs that, Fresno State basketball is making some progress this year. And if they could bring that nucleus back, maybe they could make another jump next year, and it could be kind of fun to watch them grow together. But it's like, okay, are we just going to be bringing in an entirely new roster next year?
Absolutely,
Probably.
Scott. And that's the problem. Like, development's out the window now, for a lot of these programs. If you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, developing teams is out the window, because you use Gorey as a perfect example. So let's say Tennessee, I need a 2 or I need a 3. Our team is pretty much set. Just need a marquee 2. Shop down the list. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, Fresno State. Okay. Oh, look at this kid. He was 18 points a game. Da, da, da. Let's go get him. And there's no guardrails. There's nothing saying you can't do this. It's free reign. So this is why this summit tomorrow, that I believe still scheduled to go on with the president and a lot of people in the college game and in the professional sports, is so important. We got to get something going on, because I know even like Colorado coach Tad Boyle, who's been there 16 years. I mean, it's so hard for him to, even on and that's a Big 12 team, with a great league, to develop talent and then to keep the talent there is just so difficult. It's what he's kind of made his career on, was developing guys from freshmen to seniors. And by the time they're seniors, I just don't know if we're going to see that anymore. And it's kind of sad. For being honest, I think it's sad.
No, it is. I mean, unless you're winning national titles, right, it's sad.
Which is one team.
Right, which is one team. And you can make a quick jump, a quick turnaround from year to year. I will say that as well. And I mean, it's still competition. It's still college sports. You know, I still root for these guys while they're Bulldogs, right? You know, like as most of the fan base does here in Fresno. I mean, they'll always be Bulldogs in a way because they spent, even if they only spend 1 year here. But yeah, that connection that college sports kind of used to have with a fan base, that could slowly be getting eroded away a little bit.
Oh, I don't think it could be. I think is the word. I mean, honestly, do you even look at us? Do you look at your fall roster if you're a college football fan until like maybe summer camp begins in August, late August, before the season starts? Because the guys that are there now for spring, there is no guarantee that they're going to be there in the summer. I mean, one bad day, one bad practice where a coach says, I think I'm going to go with this guy. All right, I'm gone. So it's just.
So my question to you
I
then...
don't think that was the spirit of what was supposed to happen with NIL. The spirit of NIL was supposed to be, let's get these guys paid so they're not just getting a scholarship and a couple of meals. Let's get them a little bit of money to sustain. It wasn't like, let's see how much they can make. Can they make 1 million? Can they make 5? Can they make 10? Because we know 99% of these guys are not making that kind of money.
Well, you're exactly right. And the actual spirit, I think, of NIL is what NIL stands for, name, image, and likeness, that for a long time, we felt that these college athletes were getting taken advantage of, and they were, to be honest, because the bookstore was selling a Derek Carr jersey, right? And Derek didn't see any of the proceeds from that, right?
Right.
So the thought was, with name, image, and likeness, that these guys should be able to kind of be endorsers for products, for this and that. And I don't think there's one person in the country who's against that. It's the American way. You go out, you have something to sell. If somebody wants you to, market their product, and pay you to do it, then that's great. But what's happened is it's gone from being like, this is something where a bank is talking to the receiver,
whoever.
Josiah Freeman at Fresno State, or Speedy Luke, and saying like, hey, we're going to develop a relationship. You're going to do some commercials for our bank, or this and that. You're going to get paid something to
promote like a new checking account, or a new savings account, or a new IRA or something. But not like we're going to write a blank check for $5 million.
It's turned into like, how much this booster's writing a check to this athlete for however much.
Right, it's like an auction. Like, all right, I got 5 million. Anyone got 10? Like, it's just, if you're Arch Manning, right?
Do you think like if they went to unionizing, could you see a salary cap working in college sports, where it's the same for everybody?
Yes, but the problem is then you get into that really slippery slope of like, okay, so now they're paid workers. Do they get health benefits? For how long? Do they get a pension? Can they do a 401k? I mean, there's all these things that it opens up a whole different door. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I do think that I know a couple of years ago, I think it was Northwestern University with their football program was trying to unionize, and it got shot down in the early days, pre-NIL and stuff. So I don't know, Scotty. I think it's wide open right now. I just think it's just gotten completely out of control, and the spirit of what was originally the goal is gone completely out the window. Now you got guys like Vance. The one thing I'll say about Vance, though, is when he signed up, he knew what he was signing up for. And he knew this was a possibility. So I'm not saying he was naive on it. I just think that the realization maybe wasn't the realization of like, no, I'm going to be able to keep my guys might have been going through his head a little bit compared to now. It's like, oh, I might be losing 12.
And let me say this before we end the discussion on this too, is that I really appreciate that Coach Wahlberg is as transparent and honest as he is. I mean, he puts it all out on the table. You know where you stand with him. And in no way to me is this coming across as like an excuse or anything.
He's just sour grapes.
Yeah, he's just answering a question, about the future of his program. And he's saying, I'll be completely honest with you. Like the way that the system is set up right now, we're probably going to lose the majority of this roster. And then he said, I think later in the soundbite, I didn't have time to put it on, but hey, you're still expected to win. And so we got to go out and figure out a way to try to build the roster the best we can for next year. And he says the first year that he was hired, he said he got in really late in the process. And it was, they were kind of grasping at, like what was left over basically out there in the transfer portal. Right. Last year, I think you see it with some of the guys he brought in. A couple of them, are hurt. But with Gorey, what he brought in, with Jack, this and that, these are guys who are, have turned out to be solid basketball players.
And you'll probably see them at bigger programs next year.
He clearly has an eye for talent, but the problem is, can he keep this talent in Fresno?
and it's not just a Vance Wahlberg thing. Can any coach at that level keep the talent, to be honest with you? I just don't see it. But I appreciate the candor. I want to mention one other thing. You did a great story this week. You guys also, Matt Enz's son, playing for Sac State baseball. That was pretty cool. I like that story. That was pretty cool. And then getting the interview with the kid and stuff. That was really good. I wanted to commend you guys.
I thought it was funny how he kind of made a point of saying that I kind of wanted to go my own way, and maybe kind of get out of that football world because his brother's a football player.
Right.
I think his brother played for his dad, I believe, at North Dakota State. And so, but that's cool. I mean, it
was cool.
Imagine that. Like, I guess Angelique went all around, Biden Field looking to see if she could find Matt and Brenda Entz, but she wasn't able to. Although he pitched later in that game. Angelique was out shooting some high school basketball at that time. But apparently he pitched later in that game and had a good inning. And I wouldn't have been surprised if the Entzes were there.
Good job you guys getting that for the department. That was pretty cool. So I just want to mention something. So on the college football level, we lost a legend yesterday. He was a college coach in a lot of different places, but he's most known at Notre Dame. Lou Holtz passed away at 89. We all kind of have our Lou Holtz story, especially, with the USC Notre Dame rivalry, obviously. There was kind of a rivalry between Colorado and Notre Dame in the early 90s with Lou. So that's kind of cool. But my favorite Lou Holtz story ever, because I read his book and stuff, is when he was coaching at William and Mary.
Okay.
And someone asked him, what the state of the program was. And the best answer I've ever heard, he's like, well, frankly, we've got too many Marys and not enough Williams.
My favorite.
I mean, that's Lou Holtz to a T right there.
And
so.
look, you bring up a good point that, like, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when Lou Holtz was going at it with SC, and I was a diehard Trojan fan at that point, right? Like, Lou would ruffle my feathers a little bit with some of the stuff he would say, but
for Colorado.
He was one of the great personalities, and you really saw it come to light, when he later on at ESPN, he used to have that segment where he would give the pregame speech to an underdog team, right? They would have him do it, like, in the studio, and it was great to listen to what he would come up with and what he would say. And I heard a couple real quick funny stories about Lou over the last day or two. Reese Davis shared a story with Scott Van Pelt where SVP was asking him about Lou. Lou was a member at Augusta National. And
I didn't know that.
And I guess Reese played with him. Okay. And Scott Van Pelt said, is it true that Lou would lay up on 12? The par 3 over water at Rays Creek there?
He'd lay up, huh?
And Reese Davis said, yeah, he would lay up because I guess he'd poke it like 130 yards off the tee, at that point in his life.
Yeah, might as well wedge it there.
Yeah, wedge it in. And then there was another story.
Wedge.
There was another story where Lou played with Arnold Palmer, I guess, for the first time.
Okay.
And he apparently played horrendously.
Yeah.
And he was really sad about it. He went up to Arnie, afterwards, and he said, "Oh no, I'm so sorry that I played so bad." And Arnie looked at him and said, "Oh, you've played before?"
But yeah, he was such a great figure in the college game, and he had just a great personality. Won Notre Dame a national championship in the late '80s, and he'll definitely be missed. And like I said, like you said, at ESPN, he had a really good career as well. So, all right, well, like I said, let's just look really quick at the college before we get to our money plays. Really quick, NCAA basketball, the tournament's getting ready to come. Give me like one guy you think like's got a legitimate shot. One team that's got a legitimate shot, and who's their player that you like the most right now. So.
Well, if we're talking about the teams that are kind of in that tight window of who could win a national title,
right?
I think it's pretty tight, Dean. Wouldn't you agree? Like if you're projecting like the teams that could actually cut down the nets, right, and win it all.
I think it's like maybe one handful.
I think maybe 6 or 7 deep
so?
if you want to stretch it.
Okay.
But I'm stretching it.
Scott's got some future plays, by the way.
Well,
so
I gave him out earlier on this, but I think the obvious ones: Michigan, Duke.
Yeah. Maybe Florida repeating.
I think Florida is definitely in the mix,
right?
For sure.
And at least one of those Big 12 teams, maybe Houston. Although they struggled a little bit last night. They ended up winning by 13, but they struggled against Baylor.
I think Houston's in that 6-7 there. I would put UConn.
They're on
probably.
that second hand.
But they're right there. I would include them.
Okay.
I would say that they have a chance, but they're in like the second tier.
Okay, fair enough.
And that tier only goes like 6 or 7 deep.
Yeah.
We're forgetting about somebody. I don't even know who we're forgetting about.
Not many though.
But we got Michigan, Duke, Florida for sure in the mix. Who are we forgetting about?
I don't know. Let me look really quick at the top. Let me look at the rankings really quick, and I'll take a look. Keep talking. Let me see who's in the top 5 real fast, and I'll get right back to you.
There's other teams that have kind of fallen off.
I think Houston was in the top 5. Give me me 1 second and I'll find it. So sorry not to be prepped on this. Let's see. Rankings. Here we go. All right. So your top 5 as of the moment are Duke, Arizona.
Arizona's the team we're forgetting
Michigan,
about.
UConn, Florida. And then on that second wave there is Iowa State, Houston, Michigan State, Nebraska, Texas Tech.
See, I
your
would
top 10.
I would cross off Texas Tech because I don't have Toppin anymore.
Okay.
I would cross off Nebraska. I just don't think they have enough to get there. They're a fun team, but they're kind of overachieving in my opinion.
What Fred Hoiberg's done there has been amazing, and like I said, I respect them. I don't like them, but I respect them.
Well, this is to win the national title again, right? So, sure, they could win a couple games.
Not Miami of Ohio.
No, it's a fun story, but no, they're not in that mix.
Okay, fair enough.
I would even cross off Iowa State, even though I love the way that Iowa State plays. I love how they play defense, and I'm a big fan of Osselberger as their head coach.
Sure.
I just don't think they have enough offense when it comes down to it. Again, they're going to have to beat teams like Florida, Duke, or Arizona likely in the Final Four, right?
So before we get to championship week, who's the team and who's the player? Go for it.
Who's the team? Who's the team that's winning it all? I'm going to take Duke.
Okay.
I
so
think
is it a Boozer twin?
Well, obviously, I'm a fan of Cameron Boozer.
Sure.
It's his future is interesting because it's been much debated. You know, as far as what kind of NBA player is he going to be?
Right.
Well, let's just focus on him in the college ranks right now, and he's absolutely dominating. The ACC at this point. And so I don't know. I thought Duke was going to win it all last year.
Okay.
Shire has done a terrific job there of getting Duke to buy in defensively. And so, it's a small thing. I would have no qualms with someone saying Michigan or Florida or Arizona.
All right, we got to get to money plays. I'm going to go UConn in solo ball. But with that being said, let's go money plays. All right, Scotty, right into money plays. Scotty's got 3 plays. We're kind of short on time. He's at $9.77. He only lost $23 off last week. Oh, I'll show it really quick, shouldn't I? It was just one play. It was New Orleans. Unfortunately, we both lost on the privateers. So let's move on to these. We got 3.
All right, here. Hopefully you're watching us live right now at 12:30 because by the 8:30 showing, these will already. Have been played.
He'll either be a legend or not.
Yes,
so here we go.
So Missouri Valley Conference traditionally, Dean, has just been a total under tournament. Okay. And so I'm going to take the under. There were 3 games today, in the Missouri Valley that I was looking at. I'm going to end up settling on Indiana State and Valpo as being under here.
Got it.
Valpo, one of the slower teams in the country. Mm-hmm. Indiana State, not super slow, but that total up to 138.5. I think the stat is last 10 seasons, a total of 131.5 or higher.
Okay.
The under is hitting at nearly a 68% clip. So take the under in that one.
And here we go. Big West Thursday.
Yeah, Big West Thursday coming at you. Cal State Fullerton, UC San Diego. Interesting game here because I was looking at the Big West tournament, the structure.
Yeah.
Top 4 seeds do get a bye, right?
Okay.
It's one of those single buy, double buy type of deals.
Yeah.
UC San Diego's right on that bubble, right? And they're in the battle with Cal State Fullerton to get there. And I think UC San Diego, slightly more offensive talent than Cal State Fullerton. Fullerton hasn't been bad at home.
No.
A little nervous about this, but I am going to alternate line it down to 2.5 with UC San Diego, and then I'm going to throw a 5-point 2-team teaser.
Nice.
Iowa. I'm going to bump Iowa up. The thinking here is Michigan has Michigan State this weekend. They've already wrapped up the Big Ten.
Yes,
you got to go on the road to a tough environment with a big game pending, and there's really not that much to play for in this game.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to bump Iowa up to 13.5. They play slow too, which usually is a good sign for a big underdog. And then I'm also going to take Cal State Northridge, who has been playing very well in the second half of the season against the worst team in the Big West.
I lost $2 in change by just hitting 2 good ones, but missing a bunch of others. So I got a bunch. I got to join the teaser king here. Let's do a 4-point teaser. Big West Thursday. Give me Cal Poly plus 13.5 against UC Irvine, and UC San Diego getting a 1.5 now against Fullerton with the 4. $50 3-point teaser. Give me on Big West Thursday again. Give me CSUN minus 4.5 against Bakersfield, and Hawaii minus 8.5 against Riverside. Got a couple of NHL, NBAs, and then a couple of other parlays. And then I've got another $50 teaser there. Give me Boston University plus 1.5 against American, and Michigan minus 4.5. I'll go on the other side of Scott against Iowa. Lot to play for still. Number 1 seed on the line. So, all right, Scotty, about 30 seconds. Any last thoughts?
Well, do you really think that number 1 seed is on the line? I think they've wrapped it up either way.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think you want to keep your team humming. It's March, right? We got to be good. We got to be good in March. Hey, guys, enjoy Big West Thursday. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. We only got one more week of this, then we get to the tournament. Hey, shout out to the WCC. They got their tournament starting tonight, and St. Mary's and Gonzaga get the triple bye. They go all the way to the semis.
And is there any better name for a conference tournament
than Arch Madness?
Arch Madness in St. Louis, the Missouri Valley. It gets underway today, as I mentioned.
We'll be back on Monday. Thanks for watching. This has been the Beem and Dean Show.